I care when people like Charlie Kirk, who is on record skewing statistics and saying that diversity leads to a lack of quality. How are we supposed to vote when we don't have integrity? How are we supposed to vote when we don't have accountability? How are we supposed to make progress and make actual growth in our country if we're not being accountable and not having integrity as a whole and holding it that expectation to our leaders, to our decision makers, to our bill makers, to our judges, to our lawyers, to our businessmen? How do we make progress when people lie? And that's okay because Trump's gonna Trump. Because you're consistently an asshole, that's okay? That's your response? Some of y'all need to look in the mirror. So I recently did a live stream where I covered a conversation that I had on Facebook. This conversation was around one of my posts and an interaction I had with someone that I used to work with. And the conversation is both interesting and frustrating from my perspective, and I wanted to get your opinion on this interaction. And I'm looking for people who don't just agree. I want to talk to people who disagree, who may not see things the way that I see them, because we're not going to grow if we keep talking in an echo chamber, and we're not going to grow if we keep just villainizing everyone we disagree with. However, I do think that being honest and authentic is one of the best ways to approach these conversations. So I do get heated, and I apologize for that. I had to censor some of my dialogue there, but let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video. First, I have to talk about a very serious topic. As many of you know, whether you're following me on social media, on my Facebook, or have watched any of my recent streams, you know that I've been talking a lot about politics and various issues or topics within the world of politics, right? And so I wanted to talk about a interaction I had today, right? And I want to talk about it in the grander scheme because I see this happening all the time. And even though I'm interacting with people that do this, it still does not feel real, right? It doesn't feel like these people really exist. And I don't want to, you know, label people, right? I don't care about labels. I don't care about like the drama of this, right? I care about the interaction, right? The progress that we make as a country. And I've had some conversations. I got to go to Chicago yesterday and visit a friend, and we talked about it. I've been talking to a few of my other friends about the world of politics, the state of the world currently. And there's one, kind of two topics in one that I want to talk about today. And I've struggled to figure out how to talk about this in the past and how I want to present these topics, how I want to talk about it. So all I can really do is figure out things as I go, right? And this interaction that I had on Facebook really captures the issue that I've had with people in politics, not just politicians, but also how we communicate about politics, the way media covers politics, right? I covered a Charlie Kirk video a couple of weeks ago talking about how people will take certain aspects of a video and take it out of context, whether it be for the better or for the worst. So today, what I want to do is I want to talk about a topic that I think is really important. That topic is integrity and accountability, specifically in the world of politics, whether it be politicians or voters, right? And I think this is a really important thing to talk about, and it isn't just about my interaction, right? I want to reemphasize this. It's not about the interaction itself. It's about how people in general act. And I want you, regardless of what political affiliation you're a part of, to think about this and internalize it for yourself. I don't want you to think about it how it relates to you to other people. I want you to think about this in terms of how it relates to you. I think we're all susceptible to this. I think that everybody that cares about something is very susceptible to a lack of integrity or a lack of accountability, right? When it comes to bias, when it comes to some of these topics I'm going to be talking about or the conversation I'm going to be covering, I want a few things to be understood beforehand. One, as I mentioned, don't think about it in terms of other people, right? Or it's going to be very easy to see this in other people. That's not what I want. I want to talk to people that do this themselves and might not know. And I'm trying to figure out something myself because I've always struggled with this concept, not just within myself, but as an adult, I struggle to understand how other people lack this, how they don't prioritize integrity or accountability. I'm not saying I am the epitome of either of these things, but if you know me, you know that I am the first person to acknowledge anything that I've done wrong, right? Whether it be a moral issue of offending somebody, which is less likely, but more so just me forgetting something, me not doing something right, me procrastinating on things. I struggle to see how other people don't prioritize these things. And I'm not judging, I'm frustrated, right? And I'm going to try my best to maintain my composure, to keep my zen. But these are really, really important topics. And I really, really feel like the situation is very dire. So if I do get angry, you need to understand that it's because this is not just important to me. It is an importance of like safety, of security, of freedom, right? That is why I feel the way that I feel and why I'm talking the way that I do. Even mentioning, the preface, the preamble, I already feel it bubbling up, right? So the other point that I really, 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 really need you to understand is I am unaffiliated with any political party. I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I have publicly criticized both political parties. No, it has not been evenly because I don't think the spread of issues is even currently. And I don't care what party you are. I will say very openly that I'm specifically worried about conservatives or Republicans or people who are fans of Donald Trump, right? That is my personal concern right now, but this will apply in 10 years. It applied 10 years ago. It applied when Obama was in office. It applied when any politician was president whatsoever at any level, any mayor, any governor. This applies to everyone evenly, even if I have a personal issue that is more biased towards one party over the other. So understand that it is incredibly important that you both understand that I'm an independent, right, or unaffiliated, and that it isn't just about you and your party. And that'll make more sense in a second, right? So let's get into this, right? I had an interaction on Facebook, and I want to go ahead and share a couple of things first. I want to talk about a few things first, and then we'll get into that post. So the first thing is, what is the definition of integrity, right? I want to make sure we're on the same page. This isn't to be condescending. This isn't to belittle you. This is just so that you understand certain definitions and we're all on the same page. And I will add on, if needed, to some of this terminology. So integrity is a quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, or moral uprightness, right? I've never heard that word before, but I didn't want to cherry pick. I wanted to just copy it as is. This is from like Webster's, I believe, Merriam-Webster's definition. And I feel like it's very self-explanatory, right? And this is already one issue that I have with people, is that the honesty and having strong morals, these go hand in hand. It isn't just about honesty. It isn't just about having strong morals. It's about both of those things, right? And I don't need to expand further on this because we'll circle back to this later on. The next one is accountability, right? The quality or state of being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. And when I say political integrity and accountability, this means that it extends to not just yourself, but to the people you affiliate yourself with. So I don't know if there's a definition for that, but I'm adding that extra term of political accountability and political integrity. So there's the individual level, but when I'm saying political, I'm applying this to the individual voters that are supporting politicians, and then you take away, to a degree, the political part when it comes to the politicians themselves. I think that there's both. I think there's, when it comes to the politicians and when it comes to the voters, there's just general integrity and accountability, but then there's also political integrity and accountability, because I want to specialize or specify that I'm talking about the world of politics, the policies, the what we platform on, or I say we, I'm not a politician, what they platform on, those sort of things. So I say all that to preface the interaction that I have. And again, I'm going to be willing to acknowledge any incendiary words that I use, right? And the first thing that I have to point out is my original post. So on my own Facebook, I posted this right here, right? If your party is criticized and your first response is, but what about? You have accountability issues. I made this a statement I knew this was going to be mad. I mean, I made it red, like that should have been an indicator in itself. But I do that on purpose, right? I'm not saying it's productive. I'm not saying it's reductive. I'm just saying I do it because that's what I want to do. And I personally, with this post, wanted people to prove my point by doing exactly what I'm saying in the original post, right? And this will make more sense later on. And again, I don't take joy out of calling anybody out, which is why I'm going to be blurring the names to the best of my ability. But I already know because the pattern of behavior is there. So that leads me to the original interaction, right? This is someone I know personally. This is someone I've worked with. This was somebody that I was worked over me. He was my boss of my department back at an old job a lifetime ago. And so I know this guy personally. I've worked with him. He knows that I'm honest, and he knows that I speak with good faith, even to the point to where I, in person, this person I thought was a very hardworking individual. He was a manager, like a store manager, not the store manager, but like a department manager, but he oversaw different departments, etc. And I say this to really build up and steelman this person in general, like what I thought this person represented. And so he was always hardworking. He made a lot of people mad because his standards were high. He was very straightforward. I think he was former military, so he came off very rough around the edges, almost rude, and a little bit condescending at times. And I was the first person, apparently, to tell him this. And again, when I talk to people and give feedback, it's not malicious. You can hear it in my voice more often than not. And I was like, hey, has anyone ever told you that you have like a condescending tone when you talk? And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's why a lot of people might not like you, because you're hardworking. I think you actually care about the quality of your work, but I'm trying to give you some feedback so that you can have a better interaction and get more people behind you, because I like this guy. He always showed up. He was always straightforward and honest. He didn't play any games, because if you've worked in jobs at different departments and different shifts, the games that are played unless you just completely ignore it or avoid it at all costs. I tended to avoid it, but you can't not observe it. So I really respected this person, and I was one of the few that did, because I did my damn job. I did my job well, and I have my own integrity and accountability and would call myself out. So I say that to understand the mindset that I had interacting with this person, because I think that I sound hostile as I'm responding, and I get more, not hostile, but I get more rude and more blunt with how I feel with this person throughout this exchange. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm sorry, I'm a slow reader, so I will do my best to my ability. So I'm just going to call this person I'm trying to think of something not condescending, because there's a puppy image there, but I don't want to call them puppy or dog. I think that's derogatory. So I'm just going to say N, right? The letter N as in Nancy. So their first response to me at the very top there is, there's no way to respond to this statement other than saying, yep, we are wrong for either side. Whoa, I appreciate Psycho Blue with the gifted subs. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. We'll have to talk more in a second. Golly, what the heck is going on with that? That's a lot. But I will circle back to that. I really appreciate that, the PR training. So let me start this over though. But there's no way to respond to the statement other than saying, yep, we are wrong for either side. Any direction this was going for context, can't have a debate this way. And my mindset when I saw this was, you're engaging on my post by saying you can't engage with my post. Again, I'm sharing my insight because I want to be able to call myself out on any issues, any hypocrisy that I represent, or any like rudeness, right? I think it's important that we break it down. And if I'm talking about integrity and accountability, I want to use myself as a first example before I use him as an example. So my thought process was, how can you engage with my post by saying you can't engage with my post, while also asking me a question that engages me, right? The question that he was asking was any direction this was going for context, can't have a debate this way, right? The middle part, the any direction, was what he could have just put. So already I'm like, why? Like, okay, I'll just share my response based off of your response. I'm like, brother, because we've interacted several times on Facebook at this point. I'm like, I'm down to have a call sometime. I have several typos in here, and I kept them in here because I thought it would be disingenuous to leave them out, but I will read them correctly as much as possible. But this is my Facebook page. I can say what I want and how I feel. If you feel there is no way to engage with me within post, then perhaps you fit the description above, right? I didn't even call out a specific party. if you want to engage with me, then tell me what your problem with my post is. Why do you feel the need to say you can't engage? Lastly, you have Trump threatening to withhold money to New York, see my other post, and you choose to take issue with my small post. Why can't you take this energy to Trump and tell him to have some integrity or accountability, right? Because again, we've exchanged several times. I had a post, I don't think he responded or saw that one on his feed. He'll talk about that in a second. And again, I think I sounded kind of rude at this point, but I'm like, just say what you want to say. Why are you adding all this preamble of like, you can't engage when you're clearly engaging with me? Anyways, I digress. Oh man, I appreciate it. Z-Fan, what's going on, man? I'm going to try my best to not interact with the chat too much because I want to get this through and I want to minimize how much editing I do when I upload it to YouTube. So I am totally sorry if I don't interact a lot, but I do want to make sure that I make good content that I can do with minimal editing later on. So just keep that in mind. If anyone else does talk, feel free to interact and let them know, just so that they don't think I'm being rude and not interacting with them, because I don't want to do that. I will talk plenty after I'm done getting through all of this. So anyways, in response, it says, I took a few minutes to think and reread this a few times before getting ready to respond. I have a couple of comments back. Yes, this is your post. However, it is a public platform that people are allowed to respond to. I 100% agree and have said the same thing to other people in the past. If you don't want comments, this is not the place to be, which I didn't say I didn't want comments, but he didn't say I didn't, but he's just stating that. Second, I commented this way as a blatant statement and had no direction to comment on, which again, he asked a question. He did have a direction to go on. He could have asked for clarity if he wanted to. I just know that I'm going to get more interactions with vague, ominous posts. That's another reason why I do that, just for clarity. But I try to post as authentically as I can with how I'm feeling in the current situation or what I want to say. So yeah, second, let's see here. Lastly, I do not take issue with any post and do not look to see what you have. Basically, he's saying he didn't look at my other comments before this. I only gave him the context so that he could go and look if he wanted to. That way we have a better interaction. I don't know what he chose to do there. So anyways, he says, you can feel how you want about any topic, but don't get upset when other opinions show up on your post. FYI, I do not disagree with Trump, but I did feel the need to bring him up in an unrelated post. I am at a stage that I want to spend time and energy on conversations that are not one-sided. Nothing personal, but every time I have attempted to engage, the same results happen of skewing my points. Which I don't agree with that, right? That's how he feels, or that's how he's expressing that he feels. And I do not agree with that whatsoever, because I've tried my best to give my due diligence, but let's not give too much background because I want to just focus on the conversation itself. And again, feel free to like call me out on my behavior, like where things were rude, right? I'll read those later on and respond to them, but I don't think we can make the progress that I want to see if I'm not reiterating this damn point over and over again, that I'm willing to call myself out on any crap that I have. But I also, if I feel very strongly about something and I disagree with any points, I'm going to express that and give you points as to why I disagree. I do that in this post. Anyways, I go on to say, my tone tends to get taken out of context. I'm not mad. I'm not bothered. I'm just writing. I was confused. I'm just writing what comes to mind. So sorry if it comes off as angry, because I'm not. From our in-person conversations, you know, I tend to speak very objectively, which via text can come off more aggressive than intended. It's similar to how I commented, which I mentioned earlier, that you sound condescending, which I don't think I give enough context. He might not remember this, right? So I don't know where his mind is at this point, because I didn't clarify enough. I think my post got deleted, and so I had to retype everything and was annoyed at that. But I go on to say, I said that people could perceive it that way, and it can rub people the wrong way, but I knew you weren't intending to be, right? Again, this is context to working in person and how he interacts with other subordinates. I'm angry at our leadership and society as a whole, yes. Angry at you, no. You can say what you want and I'll respond in kind, but if people criticize why I post what I post, it's silly to me. I have the freedom to say what I want within terms of services because, again, like freedom of speech, I won't digress too hard, but whether you read them or not, there's terms of services for using social media, for interacting on video games. If you're interacting on the internet, more than likely there are terms of services. So that's not, I hate how people just blanket statement say freedom of speech when they're using an online platform of somebody else's that they don't own, right? Anyways, and I exercise it. I exercise my freedom of speech. I think it's a waste of time to engage in my post by saying you can't engage in my post. I get what you mean, but from my perspective, I don't see why you don't just get to the point. Next, my original comment to you had many typos. I didn't realize until hours later. You may have read it before I had a chance to fix it. I would love to have constructive conversations. Like, this is me several times with him emphasizing that I want to have a voice call or a video call with him, because these interactions are going to be limited and it is too rife for misinterpretation or taking things the wrong way. Anyways, yeah, so I would love to have a constructive conversations, but those tend to be placed, they need to be in person. I don't have Facebook installed on my phone because I don't want to be on it too much. I use the browser on my phone sometimes just for full transparency, but I make it hard to get on Facebook on purpose, because I limit it. And sometimes I'll go days, weeks, sometimes even a month before I check back in because I just forget about it. Admittedly, I've missed several comments or given half-baked responses because I'm in a hurry or forget to check back in. And again, like, I just want to acknowledge that there are times where I don't feel like I fully articulate what I'm trying to say, and it comes off more antagonistic than intended because I'm not fully in the moment. Like, I have ADHD. I really have to lock in myself. I can't do things half-assed, but when you're really feeling justified about politics, it's really easy to just say something that sounds good and not really fully vet it. I try hard not to do that too often, but when you know someone personally, it's a little bit easier to do that. Anyways, I'm not intentionally skewing your points. I can go off what you, I can only go off what you gave me. So yeah, I said a lot there. I gotta drink water in between breaks because I did some commentary this week, and I also went to a tournament the following day at a bar, so it was very loud. My voice is going to go out probably before I'm done with this. Anyways, so I have more. I go on for a good bit because I felt like all the times that I interacted with him, he's basically saying that I wasn't doing my due diligence. I'm not sure. He didn't give specifics, so I don't know what he was talking about, but I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to sit down and really think things out and type it out on a computer. So I'm like, my post is about members of the two parties and their lack of accountability. So let me expand on why I said what I said. Democrats and Republicans both do it, and it's laughably childish. Why is it childish? Because their first reaction is to blame the other, rather than taking even a second to contemplate their own involvement in things. Politicians on both sides, especially Trump, are unwilling or unable to acknowledge any wrongdoing. This is a lack of integrity and accountability. If we can't trust our leaders to hold themselves accountable, then they aren't leaders at all, right? I fully stand by that. And the reason why I keep emphasizing Trump, for anyone who else might be bothered by this, Trump is the president of the United States of America. He is our leader amongst leaders, unless you have conspiracy theories. Yes, there is the three layers, the checks and balances, but he is a person that represents us as a whole, whether we like it or not. He is that person. So yes, I am going to stay on Trump, not because he's a Republican, but because he's the leader of our country. So I'm not criticizing him because of his political affiliation. I'm criticizing him because he represents everybody, and I do not like what he is about. So if there's anybody that takes issue with that, understand that's where I'm coming from. I'm not just blanket statement Republicans, because again, in case you're just hopping in, I am neither party. I am unaffiliated with a party, and I have to keep emphasizing this because there are people who do this thing that I'm trying to talk about in this video, and you'll see the examples in a second. But easy example. I'm criticizing Trump. He did this, he did that. Let's say the Epstein files. Well, what about Obama and Biden? If they are guilty, then put them in jail right next to him. I don't care. Like, why are you telling me this? That doesn't prove that proves my point. Anyways, I'll have time to get angry about that later on because it'll pop up. Let's go. So my post is about members, blah, blah, blah. Why is it childish? Yeah. Okay. So I've had many conversations with people from both sides, and they both immediately go straight to the other side. The other side this and the other side that. There's no substance to what they say. If I bring up a counterpoint, they respond with a question along the lines of, so it's okay for them to do it, but it's not for us. It's pathetic. Both voters and politicians are incapable or unable to call themselves or their parties out when they are wrong. or when they're in the wrong. They only double down that they are right and the other is wrong. The issue with many MAGA people is, I don't know why I yelled at, it's just capitalized because it's an acronym. Many MAGA people is that they take it to a new level. Again, I agree with this. I wrote it, so yeah. They say the wildest things with no evidence and they go on with their lives like nothing happened. The lack of accountability and integrity in the country is a major issue. We don't have any leaders who have consistent integrity. I'm also at a stage where I want to have a dialogue with people, but at the same time, Trump and his cronies have taken it too far. Somehow you can't see this. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's baffling to me how you don't see a problem with the administration. Our president is actively using the legal system to bully his opposition. He makes up stories that are unverified or untrue. He hires people who are clearly unfit for the job. I'm not mad at you, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. What I have to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat what I have to say because this is absolutely bullshit. Again, it is. If you took a second to be objective about things, then you would understand that's the case. So I go on to say more. This isn't a simple agree to disagree situation because he said that to me in the past about things, and I've had other people say the same thing. This isn't an agree to disagree situation. This is our country is regressing and our freedoms are being infringed upon situation. So I'm not going to be nice about it. Trump and his cronies are constantly threatening someone and labeling them as an enemy. This is not hyperbole. It's straight from Trump. He openly threatens those who criticize him, and that's not how a president is supposed to act. If you support him and his actions, then I'm disgusted by you. Again, I'm not mad, but that's how I feel about it. I'm still, I'll still have a dialogue, but I want there to be no confusion about how I feel about people that support him. It makes me sick. And I think this is mean to say. However, if I'm going to have a conversation with somebody about a topic so sensitive, then I personally want people to understand where I'm coming from, because I think it's disingenuous to have a civil conversation with somebody if you're disgusted with them and you're not willing to say that to their damn face. It's uncomfortable, sure. But if I have an issue with you, if you are a bigot or someone who parrots bigoted beliefs or whatever it may be, and I'm disgusted by you, I'm not going to hide that aspect of it. Right? Unless it's like, out in the wild randomly. But if we're having a serious conversation, like we're talking because we're going to talk about this, I personally think it's important to address that before you even talk about anything else. It gives the other person to decide if they want to have a conversation with you or not. It does open up the opportunity for them to be defensive. But I think that if you act how you feel rather than expressing how you feel, then they're going to get defensive anyway. So if you're hitting every point that they're saying, you're not willing to actually hear them, because I can be disgusted by somebody, but hear every point they're saying and consider it before I just react. Other people won't say they're disgusted by somebody, but will just go ahead and pick apart every point they're saying as if they have the moral high ground. And even if you do have moral justifications, that kind of conversation is not productive. I believe the way that I approach it is more genuine and has more opportunity to be productive if the other person isn't a sensitive crybaby about it, right? That's just my take on it. Anyways, I'll get to this in a second, but look at this video below on Trump's Truth Social video right now. I'm assuming this is an AI video, which there are several sources that said this. Trump gives no context whatsoever. This is our president of the USA posting this on his own Truth Social page. If you can't see an issue, then you and I have problems. Now, I went on Truth Social to research this before talking to him because I wanted to go to the source. I didn't want to go to MSNBC. I didn't want to go to Adam Mockler. I didn't want to go to any other news anchor that's left-leaning. I wanted to go straight to Donald Trump's source, which is where he posts his truth on social media. I went to his source right away. So I feel like I really have to reemphasize this a lot, all the time, because people don't do this. Right? They go to their own biased sources and then they don't actually do anything with it. So I went there and I have the video here. So you guys, for context, if you haven't seen this before, then you're in for a ride. This was on, no words were given, no context was given on this post. This was posted on Donald Trump's social media, by Donald Trump, by @real Donald Trump on Truth Social. So I need you to understand that for this video. So let's go ahead and watch along, huh?
Nobody likes Democrats anymore. Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
I just want to let that sink in for a second before I talk more. Okay. Yeah, again, that was posted on his Truth Social from his own account. That's all I'll say. So anyways, I digress. I go on further to say, this is another post, right? I posted again before he even had a chance to respond. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's not enough. Maybe, because again, he accused me of not providing any examples in the past. So I'm like, maybe that example is not good enough. Maybe a AI video that's clearly racist or has racist undertones to it, that is making up the words of a politician, which that was Hakeem Jeffries, and then the person talking was Chuck Schumer. Maybe that wasn't enough for him. Maybe he was still on the fence about the issue that I have with Donald Trump, and it just wasn't clear enough for him. So I take another topic. I'm like, why is the first thing written by Trump? Oh yeah, I was like, look, here's another example, right? Why is the first thing written by Trump corrupt and totally deranged, or total Trump deranged? In quotation marks, ... He has to immediately discredit someone, right? Again, this is I'll give you the post in a second. Just to give the order of how he would have read it, right? And I'm trying to not laugh right now, because it in my head is silly reading this out loud. But anyways, why does he mention Obama's middle name? Is it because it sounds ethnic or Middle Eastern? If not, then why doesn't he mention anybody else's middle name but Obama? Or why does he do it and not anybody else, right? Obama, his middle name is Hussein. So Barack Hussein Obama. I wonder, he mentions about 4 people in this post. None of them, their middle names are mentioned, and Obama's middle name is never mentioned. So I wonder, right? If I'm being objective and unbiased, I'm just wondering, because of the inconsistency with how he communicates, right? 4 names, only one of them has their middle name mentioned, right? So I just want to emphasize that I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just pointing out his behavior, how he communicates. Why his middle name? I wonder. I'll leave it there. Anyways, why does he call the raid on his house illegal? According to Congress.gov, the search warrant was approved by the magistrate judge. The process of searching his house was perfectly legal. Not only is he playing the victim, but he's lying about the legality of it. And I also post the source from Congress.gov that has a search warrant like the search warrant for his house. It was all legally done. So I'm not biased. I'm just looking at Congress.gov, and clearly there is a warrant for the search and seizure for his house. In order to get a warrant, you have to have justification and evidence that something illegal has been done. So he is lying, whether you like it or not, about the fact that his search, like the search on Mar-a-Lago, was perfectly legal. There was a search warrant for that, right? I have to reemphasize, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. This is just facts that I'm saying here. And this is me talking about a post. He posted words, right? It's down below. I'll talk about it. He, again, calls January 6th a hoax. It happened. It's on camera. People died. Cops were assaulted. He calls for Microsoft to fire Lisa Monaco, which is what the post is about. Why Obama was mentioned in the first place, I have no clue. But Lisa Monaco was the person that got the search warrant approved by the magistrate judge. What did she do to deserve this? Does it have anything to do with the search and seizure of the top secret documents, or is it just a coincidence? I guess people are just okay with our president trying to get someone fired who legally investigated and contributed to the raid on his house. Clearly, he's using his influence to affect her position at Microsoft and its public's perception of her, right? So at the very least, even if he's not trying to sway Microsoft, he's publicly shaming her, and he has millions of followers. So it affects the social public's perception of her, whether he wants to admit that or not. And then I go on to say, oh, and Microsoft has several contracts worth roughly $10 billion with the government. Maybe Trump wasn't thinking about that fact when he wrote this. I hope our president wouldn't be someone who would strong arm a corporation to fire someone. I hope that's not the case. This one post alone has several lies and childish rhetoric. So let's look at this post, because maybe I'm over exaggerating. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe I'm paranoid. You let me know, okay? Corrupt and totally Trump deranged Lisa Monaco, a purported pawn of legal lightweight Andrew Weissmann, was a senior national security aide under Barack Hussein Obama, which, okay, there's reasons why he mentions Obama, I guess. No, because the search and seizure didn't happen until Biden was in office, so that's not relevant. He just mentions that and mentions Obama's middle name, whatever. And a lawfare and weaponized obsessed deputy attorney general under crooked Joe Biden and Lisa's puppet boss attorney General Merrick Garland, who were all the architects of the worst ever deep state conspiracies against our country. Russia, Russia, Russia. The January 6th hoax, the illegal raid on Mar-a-Lago, again, not illegal, the Biden autopin scandal, which isn't that big of a deal. I mean, I think I would be fine with scrutinizing it and digging into it deeper, whatever. But people do that. The documents witch hunt is the raid on his Mar-a-Lago house. So he mentions the same thing twice, as far as I can tell. I don't know why. And more. Monaco has been shockingly hired as the president of global affairs for Microsoft in a very senior role with access to highly sensitive information. Monaco, now I will say that last sentence is a valid point to point out, even though I fully disagree with how he's approaching all of this, right? I do think that government officials or former government officials, she was fired by Donald Trump, if I recall correctly, a while ago. I don't know if it was during his first administration or no, it had to have been during his second administration. Anyways, let me just get back to this. So yeah, Monaco was slightly shockingly hired by Microsoft in a senior role. Monaco has all kinds of access. Having all kinds of access is unacceptable and cannot be allowed to stand. She's a menace to the U.S. national security, especially given the major, even though Hegseth, shared tweets with whatever. Let me stay on topic here. I can't ADHD. Yeah, she's a menace to national security, especially given the major contracts that Microsoft has with the United States government. Again, mentioning those contracts worth $10 billion. So just maybe, if I were Microsoft and I saw this post, I would probably be considering whether or not I want to be working with this person if my $10 billion worth of contracts were in jeopardy because of hiring her, right? Whether that's fair or not, yeah. But if I was a CEO of Microsoft, and I already had these deals, yeah, that would be on my mind. And I'm just being honest with you, that's how business works. And that's how people tend to work. So I'm just saying that's how I would think. I'm not saying that's how the CEOs and leaders of Microsoft are thinking, right? I'm just being honest and transparent with you. So anyways, because of Monaco's many wrongful acts, the U.S. government recently stripped her of all security clearances. Yeah, so he's saying he fired her, took away all of her access to national security intelligence, and banned her from all federal properties. It is, in my opinion, that Microsoft should immediately terminate the employment of Lisa Monaco. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So I feel like everything that I said in that original post back here I feel like that was all very valid. I don't disagree with anything that I said in this post. So how do you think that this person would have replied to all of this? How do you think that, after me giving you 2 posts worth, two essays and the receipts, how do you think that this person would respond? I'll just give you a second to think about that. Because yeah. So here is their response to me. So Tavian Napier, this is what makes politics as a whole exhausting. If the focus is directed towards one politician, the facts become one-sided based on the popular narrative. Trump has been the same person and spoke the same way his entire public life. He has a way to get under people's skin and rile them up to keep them off guard. An example is the 2028 re-election. This will clearly not happen, but people like Gavin Newsom, have taken the bait. Just the other day, he had videos of Schumer and other Democrats regarding the government shutdown. This was the Republicans not supporting billions going to illegals. January 6th was not a hoax, but was not the fault of Trump and has been run into the ground with finger-pointing deflection. There is a video of Pelosi admitting her role in the lack of security and some being walked around inside by security. So you're saying there's a video of Nancy Pelosi being accountable, holding herself accountable? Is that what he's saying? Because that doesn't help his argument from my point of view. Again, I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi because of all the insider trading stuff that's going on. If that's actually true, I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I'll say that publicly. I don't care if you like that or not. I don't like politicians benefiting when other people are not benefiting. That's just me. Maybe I have integrity and other people don't. But that's my opinion, right? So yeah, Nancy Pelosi, whatever. Let's see here. The ones acting the way they did by being unruly should be accountable. The raid was legal by court and will not deny that part. Trump is not everyone's cup of tea. However, I look for someone who gets results that has been consistent over decades, not one who changes by the news cycle while being smiley and forgetting that they had the opposite opinion just 5 minutes prior. This is a correct example of why hypocrisy is all over, but only yelled about when it is Trump or Republicans. If this is wanting to be a Trump bashing, then I have attempted it. Your thread, I will not proceed with listing examples like this. But basically, it's just an article explaining why it's the Democrats' fault, right? I do want to go back and reread it just to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I don't believe there's any acknowledgement whatsoever. Again, the government shutdown. There's no acknowledgement that it's both people's fault because it takes 2 to tango. And I have another post talking at length with somebody, which I kind of wanted to use as an example, but I've done enough reading as it is, so I don't want to use it. But I have a conversation with a Democrat where he says it's the Republicans' fault. And I go on to say, look, I get what you're saying. Your points are valid. However, politicians have a job to do. And even if you agree with the politician, right now, the government shutdown happened. That means that any politician in office, it's their fault, whether they're independent, whether they're Democrat, Republican, they're not doing the job they were hired to do. People were voted in or they were sworn in, whatever, and they're not doing the job. I'm sorry. Like, if it's a Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. I go down to break it down why I believe this. And he's like, this sucks, but I agree. And I'm like, it sucks that you agree, and I wish there was a better resolution. It was a very somber communication where we both agreed that it is both parties' fault. I also acknowledge that, yeah, it's the Republicans' fault because they're trying to do something and also misrepresent that free healthcare would go to illegal immigrants. And there is some argument there about the whole illegal immigrants and healthcare thing, but I don't think that conversation has been had publicly enough to where they understand the nuance of the situation. We won't get into that because it's not relevant to the whole point. However, I see this. I'm hanging out with my friend. I think I just went 3-2 in a tournament. I'm in Chicago, and I'm like, am I taking crazy pills right now, or did he just do what I think he did he just do what I'm expressing people do? Like, did he defend himself by blaming Democrats again and totally not acknowledging any of the points that I hit? Like, did I like he does kind of acknowledge my points, but he downplays and brushes them off, right? And I this is where I need input, because at this point I'm looking at my friend, I'm like, am I taking crazy pills, or like, can you read this? I had him read it, and I'm like, is it me? Am I the crazy one? Right? Because he doesn't acknowledge the clearly racist video, and he basically just says Trump's going to Trump. I don't know how to respond. You know, I don't know how to articulate my sense of baffledness to this, because it looks like he's just proving my point, right? And I read this like a couple times, and even after reading this again, I do see that he kind of acknowledged some of my points, but like, he's just saying that Trump's been consistently a shitty person, right? Let me just give my response, because I think this is like, I have one more response that I haven't typed up yet. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to type it up. And this was when I decided, I'm like, okay, I need to talk about this because I need input, but I also think this is a great example of what I'm talking about with integrity and accountability. So he does go on to say, you did not acknowledge anything that I said. Oh, no, I said this. I said this and I pinged him. I did blur out his name multiple times. That's why you won't see his name in there. But I pinged him. I'm like, you did not acknowledge anything that I said. Like, he kind of did, but not really, in my opinion. Why should I converse with you further if you're not going to acknowledge the points that I made? Your response is that Trump is consistently a trash human being, so it's okay that he's consistently a trash human being. I'm disappointed in you. I thought you wanted to have an actual dialogue. Instead, you just keep turning to whataboutism. I'm not a goddamn Democrat. And just because I'm critiquing Republicans doesn't mean I am a Democrat, right? He didn't say that I was a Democrat, but like, I don't know why why is he trying to make me defend a point that I'm not trying to defend, right? I don't get it. If I'm not a Democrat, like, do you really care that much that I'm critiquing your party? Like, he cares more about the fact that he's being criticized, his party's being criticized, than the fact that there are actual valid points that I am hitting and giving him giving him these examples. Like, the president of the United States is lying in a post. What do you mean that he's consistently a liar? What do you mean? How do I not get mad, bro? Like, he is our president. He is a leader. If your boss at a job is like, yeah, by the way, we made $1 million in sales today, but these Chinese dudes over here are stealing from us. None of that is true, but because he's consistently lying about Chinese people and consistently making up numbers, it's okay? How do I not get mad at that? I'm sorry. That is bullshit. I said I wasn't going to yell, and I tried not to get you angry, but we're talking about our leader. What don't you understand, bro? What don't you understand? How is it okay that he's consistently a shitty human being? It's not okay. It is not okay. By my standards, you lack integrity. By my standards, you don't have the ability to hold your own party accountable. I'm sorry. This is terrible. People are dying. People are being deported. People are being silenced. People can't get health care that they need. Trump's being Trump. That's your honest response to everything that I just said? Y'all let me know. Am I crazy? Maybe I'm yelling. I'm cussing. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I care too much. I don't know. Anyways, I go on to say, you say you want to have a dialogue. But that's a lie. You're just like every other conservative, which that's generalizing, by the way. That's like, I'm generalizing just to be an asshole, just full transparency. But I don't believe every conservative is like this personally. I just want to clarify that and call that out. You try to blame the other side. I wasted time out of my life that I'll never get back. Thank you for wasting my time and proving my point. The best part is you will miss the irony of how much you're proving my point. He responds to me one last time. I saw this today. after I had already decided to stream this. So I actually, while I was setting up my stream, I screen capped this one. I was trying to decide if I wanted to add this or not, but I just want to go ahead and just read this for fairness, right? In case maybe I missed something in this post. But he says, it's funny how every point comes back to Trump being wrong while no one else is criticized. That is funny how a blanket statement was made on your post. Again, it is not that in the end. If it had said Trump sucks, I would have kept scrolling. However, you just wanted someone to agree with your opinion and repeat what you think. Yes, I like Trump, but not on all positions. That will not happen with any politician. Yet he has never changed his opinion while others have repeatedly due to the gain to be made and nothing talked about these examples. A conversation and debate should have two sides, not just one with repeated points. I agree with what he is saying. However, he's acting like the points that I'm making are not valid points to be concerned about, right? The reason why I'm using Trump as the example, as I said several times already, very loudly, he's the president of the United States of America. He is supposed to represent the best of us. He is supposed to represent what America can be. He's supposed to represent what America should be. Yes, I can give you so many examples of Democrats, Republicans, business people doing horrible things, saying horrible things. But I am concerned with the person that encourages everybody else in our country. I'm focused on this person for valid reasons, I think. I'm focused on him because he has the most influence over our country right now and the perception of other countries of us. And yeah, like Azerbaijan and Albania, they're laughing at us right now. They're laughing at us. And maybe I shouldn't care about other countries laughing at us. It doesn't affect my day-to-day life, but that does bother me a little bit. It's not the biggest concern that I have, but it bothers me a little because I have integrity. I believe in holding myself accountable. I believe in holding others accountable. And when I see someone represent me and they're making us a laughing stock, I care. I care. I care about being honest. I care about representing people fairly. I care about not being biased and labeling people terrorists because it fits my needs, because I don't like what they said about me. I care that people get fired because they criticize the president. I care that people can't get gender affirming care without spending a ridiculous amount of money. I care when people like Charlie Kirk, who is on record skewing statistics and saying that diversity leads to a lack of quality, is propped up to be some sort of icon comparable with Martin Luther fucking King. Hell no. Hell no. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? I care that our president is an asshole and makes everybody else look bad. I care that he can't be accountable and that he won't have integrity. So yeah, I'm focusing on him because there are a ridiculous amount of examples that I can give you. So when your response is, but you can't do the Democrats too? Why Trump? What do you mean, bro? What do you mean? I'm talking to every single person out there that does this shit. So not just this one person. This is a problem. Our politicians at the highest level, President Trump, does this. Our politicians at the lower levels do this. Our voters do this. How are we supposed to vote when we don't have integrity? How are we supposed to vote when we don't have accountability? How are we supposed to make progress and make actual growth in our country if we're not being accountable and not having integrity as a whole and holding that expectation to our leaders, to our decision makers, to our bill makers, to our judges, to our lawyers, to our businessmen? How do we make progress when people lie? And that's okay because Trump's going to Trump, Because you're consistently an asshole, that's okay? That's your response? Some of y'all need to look in the mirror. Because I think that some people, I think I'm neurodivergent, right? I have ADHD, right? My brain is not wired right. There is physical evidence. If you look at a brain scan and look at my brain, it is not wired the same way as a neurotypical person's brain is wired. But why the fuck can I hold myself more accountable and have more integrity than a neurotypical person? Do you have some sort of disability that I don't know about? Do normal people lack the ability to hold themselves accountable and to have integrity? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I can track why my memory might suck sometimes. I can track why I forget stuff. I can track why I can hyper focus on one topic. And right now I'm hyper focusing on people like you that are fucking up our country. So I'm sorry. I gotta cuss because I'm concerned with the state of our country. I'm concerned that our leaders can't be accountable for themselves and can't hold their constituents accountable. But maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm the crazy one, right? Maybe I'm in an echo chamber with people in the chat that agree with me. Maybe I'm on Facebook only talking to people that agree with me. Because I think there's a problem right now. I think there's a huge problem in our country, and it's not going to be fixed by Gavin Newsom or by Bernie Sanders or any politician, right? And I like Bernie Sanders. I'd vote for him in a heartbeat. I'm not a socialist. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a communist. I don't think he's a communist. I'm just saying these things that people understand. I'm not any of these things. But I would vote for him because I think he's authentically trying to make progress and is honest about things, right? That is what I care about. That's the trait that I care about is accountability, honesty, and actually trying to make growth and trying to work with people. I don't like politicians that blame Republicans. I don't like politicians that blame Democrats, and neither of them are able to actually hold themselves accountable. If you're going to say that it's the Republicans' fault, but you won't ever acknowledge that you're taking advantage of the system by insider trading or having a business that benefits from you being a politician, then go f yourself. I don't like you, and I don't want you to be my politician because you don't have integrity. And it's only a matter of time before the same issue happens again, because putting one honest person in office won't fix our system. If people are exploiting our system because they're not being honest, because they don't have integrity, because they're not adhering to the law, they're not being honest, it does not matter who we have in office. If our voters aren't willing to be unbiased to the best of their ability, if they're not willing to be objective to the best of their ability, nothing else really matters, in my opinion. The politician won't fix the issue. It is our standards as a country that is the issue right now. And I don't know why nobody's talking about this. That's why I feel like I'm the one taking crazy pills, because like when Harris was potentially going to be the president, yeah, there is some excitement because we're like, it's not Trump. But ever since Obama, there's been this idea of I'm voting for what I don't want, not what I do want. I'm voting for not getting this person in office. I'm not voting for who I like. What happened to voting for what you believe in? I don't feel like most of us vote for what we want. We're voting for what we don't want. And that's sad. That's pathetic. So I'm sorry for yelling. I'm sorry for cussing, but I care. I care about those topics. And I feel like that conversation that I had, that interaction that I had with that person that I know in person, that I've worked with, that I respected, it's sad. And the fact that someone who I thought had integrity and had accountability can't see the irony of what that exchange was like, I fear for our country. And I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be a part of that system. And I'm embarrassed to be an American. Take that how you will. But I think a lot of you people, and I don't want to talk to the people that agree with me. I want to talk to the people that find this uncomfortable. And I don't know how to talk to y'all because I feel like no matter what I do, no matter what any sane person does to bring valid points to the table, you're just going to find a way to rationalize your own bias. Yeah. So anyways, that'll end that. If you're watching this, please make sure you like this and subscribe. I will do my best to try to cover more topics like this. And again, try my best to compose myself. But you know what? I care. I don't know how to not be mad at this kind of stuff.